Hey, welcome to Sports Close-Up. I'm Ed Marin, my co-host John Matillo. Today we're interviewing Allegheny baseball. To my left, I have Brandon Crum, who is the manager. To his left is Ty Schuch. He is assistant coach / pitching coach / charge of recruiting.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades. You returned for your fourth season, correct?
Yeah. Started year four. Started about 2.5 weeks in.
Okay.
Brandon, you are a local product, which we're very proud to have that. Tell us a little about your career, how it started.
Yeah, so Crawford County student athlete here, played at Segertown. I think one of the things I attribute to what I do now is being in a part of a small community and having to play multiple sports for those sports to be successful. We needed everybody we could. I really think that helped shape me into the athlete I was, and it gave me a lot of different opportunities to be a leader. Later in my high school days, which as I went on to Gannon, where I went to play ball, I thought that really helped move my career along. And I was a 4-year player there, catcher.
Had a good career, correct?
Good end of the career.
Yeah.
I'd say I got the most of my ability. So no,
Did you play at Gannon on the new facility? Or did you play down at the?
No, we played on the all-purpose field.
All-purpose field. Okay.
Yeah, which was great. Playing on turf in the Erie weather was enormous. Yeah.
It'd be 50 degrees down here, 25 up there.
Well, when I was
no
at
question.
Gannon, they used to play at the Bayfront on Cherry, second
Oh yeah,
Cherry.
yeah,
is the
right.
field.
Yep.
That was a
is.
long
We
time.
had practiced
Yeah, it's
there
a long
before.
time ago.
We practiced there before. I
down
saw
there?
some skeleton bones still there.
Yeah. Our manager when we were at school was what the heck was his name? Ivan George. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ivan George was the main
Okay,
baseball
yeah.
manager. And those guys, they couldn't wait there to go south. That was the whole reason for going to Gannon, was to go south, because they played baseball in the fall. The spring was really irrelevant because it snowed up there all the time.
Yeah. Especially on a natural field.
Yeah.
When did you bring Tyler on?
So I'd been at Allegheny now since 2010. I was 6 years as an assistant. Left for 1 year. Was a head coach up at Mercier's Northeast. This is year 4. Ty started in October. Had my assistant coach, Coach Peterson, who's an Allegheny alum. Through COVID, he was moved back home in Maryland. Found a coaching opportunity about 40 minutes closer to his home. His family never got a chance to move up here with COVID happening. So it was a blur. September was a blur. We started the fall season, maneuvering through all the COVID issues and COVID parameters. Meanwhile, I'm posting and trying to interview and hire an assistant. I tell him all the time, he was one of the last resumes I read. I was about to start lining my phone interviews up, and so he caught my eye and did well enough. So far, he hasn't coached a game yet. We'll see, but everything else to that point, he did a good job, and he started I think October 12th, and he's really hit the ground running, done a really good job for us. And
Where'd you go to college?
The College of Worcester.
Yep. Now it's one of our rivals.
Yeah, one of our longest rivals for sure. A really tough competitor, and in the conference and in the country. And I think that was one of the things that made Ty attractive, is that he comes from a program of so much success. He knows what it looks like. He knows what it feels like, and those are the constant changes we're trying to make and add to the program. Is what it takes to win at the highest level, not locally, not regionally. We want to win national championships, or at least be in the equation. And I think adding somebody with that kind of background was vital for our movement forward.
When you started your coaching career, you did American Legion for how many years?
Yeah, 9 years. 9 years.
And you had very good success.
We had a ton of success. We had some really good players. That's what it was. I started, I think I was 20 years old. It was after my sophomore year of college. I came home. Brent Gable was the head coach. I asked to be part of the staff just so I could train, getting ready for my junior year of college. And I think we were 3 games in. Brent took a job that took him away from the program, and he handed some stuff over to me and kind of gave me a pat on the back and said, "Give it a try." And it was I'd say those 3 years after were arguably the most difficult, but the most rewarding years. I was 20 years old, coaching guys that I had played with the season before, because I was a young 19-year-old, so I could play. Getting their attention and their respect was in a new role was challenging, but I think it helped pave the way for what I was trying to do. And I only knew how to run it one way, and that was after Coach Jones, Daryl Jones, ran the organization, ran the program, and made us into, I'd say, an elite program in the state of Pennsylvania from five really small county schools. I mean, he got the most out of us, so that we held the same standards, and then I think through some growing pains, we won. I think at least 7 championships in those 9 years I was there, and we had some really competitive teams.
What's your best accomplishment while you were going through with the American Legion and that?
Oh man, I'd say honestly, I could sit here and say the championships, but I think up to the point when I went to college, there just weren't a lot of guys in this area moving on to play college baseball. I'd say the biggest accomplishment that I could credit myself with was making that a really important piece of what we're doing. I coached at least 30 kids from the French Creek Valley team that moved on to play college baseball. That was something I wanted to do because guys like myself, I didn't know how to be recruited. I didn't know what the steps necessary other than to be a good player. But how do you get exposure? How do you get in front of these coaches? And I think that's something I took personally. So made a lot of phone calls, emails, and I would do that for other teams too because I thought we have a lot of talent here. But I think a lot of coaches underestimate the guys that are in this county that are playing multiple sports. They're blue collar, and then they get an opportunity to go play, and they turn into some pretty good success stories.
Yeah, because a lot of times the kids because I coached Legion in Meadville, and the kids would come and say, well, I want to play Division I or I want to be Division II. And my answer is real simple. Go talk to Coach Crum. He will give you the proper direction and tell you where you should go and what you should do. Am I right about that? They have these dreams. And
they can talk to a lot of people. I'd say all the time, when we're recruiting guys, I don't think anybody grows up with an Allegheny A on their wall, right? For me, it was Notre Dame and Pitt, and I remember getting invited to camps for both of theirs. And I was a sophomore, and I'm like, I'm going to be an Irishman.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm still waiting on the phone call.
yeah, the reality comes in real quick,
so,
right?
Senior year, I'm like, my phone, there's something wrong with the phone.
Yeah.
And the reality is, college baseball is really competitive. College sports is really competitive, and I think one of the best pieces of advice I could give anybody that's looking is go to each level and watch a game. And really watch your position, watch how these athletes move. I mean, you got a 22-year-old right-handed pitcher that is tough. I mean, they're now becoming men, and you got a 17-year-old thinking he's got dreams and aspirations of playing at these schools. But they got to remember, the Pitts, the Notre Dames, they've already solidified their class of their sophomores. They're working so far ahead of what Allegheny or what Gannon is doing right now. They're working on their class of 2024. I mean, there's no lie, and everyone knows they're doing it because they're locking it up so fast.
And you would, if you saw a young man that had the potential to be a Division I player, you could help lead him to that.
I'd like to think so. I mean, I think there's a good conversation to have, and I think steps to take. A lot of it is, I think of one guy, is Steven Seda. That I coached, played at Miami of Ohio, had a good career over the course of 4 years. I wouldn't say he did anything special to get himself noticed other than his work ethic. I mean, the guy, he wore out cages, he wore out the weight room. He was always sprinting to make himself better. So, I mean, if you have a little bit of talent as a freshman, sophomore in high school, that's when you
have that drive.
You got to turn it into overdrive. That's what gets noticed.
And he had that.
He was made of it. It's in his DNA.
And his brother also, right?
Super talented. Yep. But Scotty also knew what he wanted, right? He wanted a Division III opportunity. Fall baseball season ended right around archery season, so that was for him. But
Didn't
then
he have
went,
some Division III records?
Oh yeah, he's national leader in doubles, career doubles.
That's phenomenal.
I mean, that fit him,
Yeah.
and that's why he was successful. And I think that's when everyone looks at Division I, Division II, Division III, they got to consider what is important, right? What is important to you to go have success? I tell a lot of our guys I hope at some point had Division I aspirations. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. 20 hours a week is that's the minimum for the Division I hours. They do more than that. You throw on study tables, you throw in daily meetings. You're getting up real early every single day, and you're going to bed early because it starts over every single day.
What time do you guys start in the mornings? I know football, we have morning workouts or meetings.
Yeah. So I think we're a little different. I don't try to start anything before 7:30. I value sleep, me personally, but I think for these guys, I remember being in college and staying up till 2, 3 a.m. is routine, especially with your academics. So trying to start at 6 a.m. is I want lifting to be rewarding, and I want it to be something they want to do. I don't want to make it happen at 5:45 or 6 a.m. That's what I went through in college, and it worked. It made me stronger, but I resented it too. I couldn't wait till it was over. I want our guys to look at the weight room and go, there's a chance I can hit more home runs, I can throw gasoline, I can run faster.
Is the facilities up there to use the same weight room as the football team or the basketball team?
Yeah, we do. So we have 2 strength and conditioning coaches
Okay.
that they're crucial in everything we do, right? They organize the lifts. We give them their times based on their class schedules. Our guys lift in smaller groups, about 7 to 8 guys. A workout, I think, is, again, more beneficial. There's more space, more room for them to do, and especially with COVID right now, we're navigating all of those parameters to make it all work.
Do you have a certain dorm or a place that the boys all stay together? Are they all over campus? Is there a baseball house, so to speak?
Well, this year we actually do. They're a special interest group. That's how you get off-campus housing here at Allegheny. They created a bowling club.
Okay.
10 of them did. Yeah,
Okay.
it's impressive. They really worked hard for it. So there's 10 of them that live in a house on North Main, and then the rest are kind of all over.
Okay.
We do our best to help pair freshmen up. So when they're incoming, they have a baseball roommate, and then after that, we completely stay out of it. Let them handle it.
Do you have any local kids on your roster? So to speak, I say like maybe Erie County, Crawford, Mercer County, that area.
We have a Crawford County guy, Wyatt Wright. He's Guys Mills.
Okay.
He's in his 5th year here.
So it'd be Maplewood.
Maplewood High School. Yep. We've had in the past. We've had a lot of guys from Erie. Most recently, a guy from Meadville. We've had two guys from Guys Mills. But we have an incoming player this next year. Walker Cunningham from Cambridge Springs coming in. Yeah.
Ty, what position did you play at Worcester?
I was a two-way guy, so I was a starting left-handed pitcher, and then my sophomore year played outfield. Junior year was a first baseman for a guy my size. I'm only 5'8", 5'9", swing righty, throw it lefty, and then I kind of DH'd a little bit too.
So what about you into coaching?
Honestly, I just love being around the game. I kind of started my career coaching with the Legion team back in 2014, so I was just ended my freshman year of college. We actually won the state championship for our Legion team.
What state was that?
Ohio. And then the following year, I loved being around the Legion team just because, you're getting everyone from that county kind of coming together, and then, just being able to go as far as we could and win it at the, that highest level there. Meant something to me, and so I wanted to continue kind of that tradition and be a part of that team, and so that's kind of where my coaching career started off, was with the Legion team, and then following that, after my career was over at Worcester, I spent 3 years on staff as a volunteer assistant, and then
Because that's how you started out too. Volunteer.
Volunteered for 2 years while I sold insurance and tried to compete against him a little bit, steal some auto policies.
So what made you put your resume in at Allegheny?
I would say, it was in the same, Allegheny and Worcester are in the same conference. I know Allegheny's had success over the years. Whenever we faced them at Worcester, I always know they had, top quality arms. And I just felt, they were kind of, a piece away. And so it was just a great opportunity. It's another, rigorous, high academic school. I wanted to be a part of that. And at the end of the day, I know it's been a while since they've won like an NCAC championship, and so that kind of, that motivates me. That's something, I wanted to help bring here as a championship. So that's kind of, the main things. And I know the kids have, they bring in their hard workers, and so it's just a great culture from what I've seen so far. And then after talking with Coach Crum when he was interviewing me, I just saw a lot of similarities. I think the biggest thing was that stood out to me is he's a winner. I want to be around, winning kind of people. It makes it easier to work with. So
To me, it's nice to see the younger generation stepping up early to coach. Not seeing people in their 50s, 60s still going.
What's wrong with that, Ed?
Well, I mean, it's just nice that they're getting into it
you're
at
right.
such a young age, and they're just coming out of it. So they, just being in that situation at that time, they know a little bit more.
Well, this is the first time
about
I've
the kid.
ever met this young man. I'm impressed already. Just listen to your little talk you just had. I mean, wow.
He's a good one.
The young men that you have playing for you have to be real happy with you two, and
think so.
then you have the The old standby
yeah,
Coach
yeah,
Jones.
we got Coach
Who
Jones.
should be here, but
Yes,
you know,
yep.
he just blew us off, right? Like he always does. You text him, he never
He'll
gets
be,
back to you.
he'll be there at 4:30 today.
I can't believe
Ready
he
with his
knew
fungo.
the opportunity to be on TV because he
And
just
after
gave
he
him
begged
the
me after
microphone.
Mike's finale, you know?
Yeah,
It's 50 degrees on a Monday. He's on his boat, I guarantee it.
yeah. And that has to be nice having somebody with his experience and his
Yep.
background.
Tremendous.
I mean, he's probably forgot more about baseball than most people know.
I think the big thing is he helps in an era, an age where everything is technologically advanced and everyone's trying to gain an edge using more data and more technology. He is a very good piece that humbles it all and reminds you, like, he did it at the highest level. He played on Yankee Stadium, played at Yankee Stadium. He shared a dugout with Reggie Jackson. He didn't need those things, and a lot of it, because we still teach so much about the same part of the game that he learned is it's about feel, right? You can run the fastest, you can throw the hardest, you can hit the ball the hardest, but if you can't compete, you can't play. And those are things, I think that's why we mesh so well, is that I'm interested and I have to know it, I think, as the head coach, and not so much older than the players we have, but I also have to help them navigate through social media and the training tools available and understand how it applies to them and ultimately what it comes down to. Hard work, smart work, and then making sure that they're training, right? And that's, Coach Jones always talks about that is the best players work the hardest. And that's a timeless thing that'll never go away.
I've seen a lot just, in coaching throughout the years that somebody that, might have all the tools and the athletic ability, don't work as hard, they don't play very good. But somebody that, works hard later, they actually jump them, within about a year or two if they have that good work ethic.
100%. We those are the type of players, I think, when we're recruiting, the easiest thing to spot. We get a paper sheet at an event and we see, oh, he's a good student. It says it right here. We can watch him play. He's talented. I think he's got to fit into. And every institution goes through this. It's how does he fit here, right? Do we attract the Cadillacs, or do we need the farm trucks, right? For me, for us, we need minivans and we need farm trucks. Guys that are dependable, get you A to B. Grinders, because we play in Northwest PA. We're on a natural surface. We play in one of the best conferences in the country. We need guys that are absolutely fight.
When you talk about, has there been a national champion in your conference, the North Coast Athletic, or they've been to the World Series? And there's been
a lot of
teams.
World Series opportunities. I do not believe there is a national champion.
I don't think so.
Ohio Wesleyan, Worcester, Allegheny have made some great strides throughout that time. But I don't believe anyone's won a national championship. Worcester was two-time runner-up.
Well, that's impressive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you play on that team? Who was runner-up?
No, I was a part of the A-team team. I was on staff as a volunteer assistant, but the runner-up teams, they were before my time.
Okay.
So, with the kids you have now, what do you see for the upcoming season? I know COVID's been hard,
COVID is it's our toughest opponent. It is. It's a challenge. And I think right now, we just talked about this in the office. We're going to go in as prepared as we can. March 23rd, we open up. But we've prioritized and deprioritized things that there's just no way we're going to get to it. Right. We didn't get on campus till February 18th. There's a lot of things that we need to cover in a short amount of time, and that's usually in mid-January when they get back. So we've really expedited the process. I think we have a pretty talented group. We're young.
That's good.
23 or 25 of our 38-man roster is freshmen and sophomores, but I think they're really talented. There's a lot of sophomores that'll be playing regularly. Two of our best four arms are sophomores that are upper 80s, low 90s.
So you play a lot of double headers. You play a lot of back-to-back double headers, Saturday,
Yeah.
Sundays, four games. That means you better have a lot of pitching.
Got to have pitching. You got to be able to compete on the mound, and that's he talked about it. I think Allegheny's, we've done a really good job over the years of having elite pitching, and that's where for me that's just my style. I'm always going to go after the best arms because I think if you can win on the mound, you can attract everything else around it, and that's. We've had a lot of success, and he's made great impacts. Coach has with the guys we have on the mound. I think in work ethic, but what it takes to compete. not just in game 1, but game 55, right? When you want to compete in May and all the lights are on and you're getting bigger crowds, what does that take, right?
Do you have any potential All-Americans? Did you see anybody?
I do. I think so. I think we have a couple. I think there's a couple that are a year or two away from that, and I think there's a couple that, if they have the season they could do it this year.
Because Allegheny does have a rich baseball tradition. I was Googled it before it came on today. And it's impressive.
21 professionals, 16 conference championships throughout the year. I mean, the 21 professionals is a large number for a Division III school.
I have a friend of mine, Jack Keppel.
Yeah.
You know Mr.
I
Keppel?
I do.
He told me, he had me laughing so hard. He goes, these kids nowadays, they throw 4 innings, they got to come out. He said, Bob Garbark made him pitch back-to-back in a doubleheader, the first game and the second game.
Yeah.
So
No question.
I think he played with Glenn Becker
Okay. In the 50s
in
then,
the
yeah.
50s.
Yeah.
And Mr. Garbark, he was a legend.
Unbelievable. I mean, his legacy is impressive. I mean, we have a big photo in our office of him and with Dizzy Dean and when he was with the Cubs. But he coached 39 years.
Well, you know, he ran the youth program in Meadville. It's called Bantam League.
Okay.
Junior
I
B.
didn't know that.
And this is in the 60s, and we go down there, down at Old North Street, Shady Brook Park, and he had a chew in his mouth, and he gave us all nicknames, and he was great. He ran the whole thing. He kept the book, did everything.
And that's Bill Ross, our AD, and I talk. His legacy is so strong, and the one thing is, and Bill says this, I've never met a person that doesn't have something really endearing and loving to say about the guy. And uniquely, I coached his great grandson, Stevie Seipel, in Segertown.
Oh, really? I did not know
Neither
that.
did I until probably a year and a half ago, and I started piecing things together.
Stevie was a pretty good ball player.
He's a good ball player. Yeah, so you can tell come from a long line of successful athletes there.
Ty, who on your pitching staff, who do you think your ace is going to be? I mean, you guys probably already know, but tell us a little bit about your pitching staff. What they entail. I know you said a little bit of it.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think, up and down the staff, we got a lot of talent, a lot of young guys. We had our first live at-bats against the pitchers yesterday. They were all freshmen that threw. They filled it up, did a good job. As far as our ace goes, I'd have to say it's probably going to be Conor Diesey. He has a live arm, has a nasty breaking ball, and pretty good changeup as well. He's just a sophomore this year, so I look forward to working with him over the years. I think he has a very high ceiling, and honestly, the sky's the limit with him. Right now, he's about an upper 80s arm, can get into the low 90s, and so
Lefty or righty?
he's a righty, and he's just a workhorse. He's a guy you want on your team. He gets after it in the weight room. He's a leader already, and it's just looking really good for him.
Where's he from?
Pittsburgh Catholic.
Pittsburgh Central Catholic.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that means obviously pretty good academics follow.
Yeah, he's a pre-law kid. Man, I think he has potential to pitch beyond college. He does, because his work ethic, his drive's there. I'd say he's trending faster than I thought.
What drew him to Allegheny? How'd you get him?
I worked hard at
hard
it.
at
Yeah. I mean, I think if you ask Connor, I think it's the academic side of things. But he was being recruited pretty heavily. I think the difference is we made a great connection. I mean, I'm very close with him, and we told him the same thing we tell everybody that comes in. You're going to have a chance to compete, and all we want to do is create the environment that makes you better. If we do that year in, year out, whoever we bring in improves. Our job is to create an environment of competitive, fiery guys that want to challenge one another every single day. The old phrase, iron forges iron. That's what we're trying to create every day. It's not, I'm not going to grab someone's arm and show them all these different things they can do. It's get them here, we work them hard, we train them, but ultimately it comes down to their competitive edge and their competitive spirit. And that's what we want to instill and continue to build.
Well, I noticed when I was going through this, all their pictures, their bios, shirt and ties. And all the kids.
Yeah, I think that's important. Well, one thing for sure, I tell them that this may be the only professional photo you ever get, right? So you can use it later in life when when they leave Allegheny and they're starting to interview. But I think that's important. We have a couple key team roles. They have to be clean shaven They have to have their hair no longer than below the bottom of their earlobes, and I just think it's a little. Coach Jones thought I stole it from the Yankees, but really, I think it's something simpler than that. It's every day when these guys wake up, the last thing they want to do is shave, but it's constantly having to do something they don't really want to do for the betterment of the team. It's something so simple. It's a similar role we followed when I was in college, and I think it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Appearance matters, and showing up to work, showing up to class, it's all the same.
Who was your mentor?
Your grandfather.
My grandfather.
I knew
Yeah.
that's what
My
that was.
grandfather.
That was.
Yeah, he was
Something, wasn't
he
he?
was a special guy. Beyond coaching, he did a lot for me there, but just the time he spent, and I think he showed me, and I try to do this, and I try to change how I coach, but he showed me how much fun this game is. Whether you hit home runs or you hit ground balls to short, you hit the ball, you run fast.
I see that these kids, not as many kids are playing baseball as they used to. It boggles my mind because you know how I feel about baseball,
for sure.
obviously the way you guys feel about it. And it's a great game. And guys like your grandfather, he brought a lot of young men.
Yeah.
I mean, the tradition they had at Sagertown's unbelievable.
He
And
coached a
he's
lot of
behind a lot
really.
of it.
He coached a lot of really impressive players, and when he passed away in November, just the pouring out of so many people reaching out that played for him, just reminding myself of these stories that I've heard, never from him because he'd never speak of them. Just reminded me of he was a great person before he was a great coach, and that's who he was to me. He was a baseball coach to me, but he was a guy that he invested time and care. He cared about myself, my siblings, my cousins, all of us uniquely, and I think that just showed the kind of coach he was. But there were some principles with him. It was you're going to work hard and you're going to listen to your coach. That was something remember him asking me in college. Listening to your coach? Well, of course, coach. It's just those things were important to him. He had some really ideal principles that I think carry on much further than baseball.
So, with you coaching in Allegheny, Sagertown alum, how important was that for you to stay around, this area? Do you enjoy it?
I love
coaching
this
in
area.
Allegheny?
I do. I love coaching at Allegheny. I think, my wife works in the Meadville Medical Center. We have healthy grandparents on both sides, and they're great grandparents. We have 2 children. It's so hard to get into coaching, let alone right in your backyard. That when I got this opportunity, even as an assistant, I remember thinking how grateful and how fortunate I was. And then when I left for a year and then had an opportunity to interview for the head coaching position, and when I got it, it about brought me to my knees because this is it's a special place. I always say we choose to live here. We can complain about the humidity in the summer, and then all of a sudden it's 28 degrees in March and you're frustrated about that, but we choose to live here because it's a great place. I think the guys we recruit, when we're talking to them, one of the last things I leave them with is this is where I've grown up. I'm recruiting you to my community because I think you make it better. And I think that's the whole college experience. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to integrate them into the community and make the community better. And I think we have an opportunity, a special opportunity here at Allegheny to impact a lot of people and give an opportunity to study and play baseball. And I think I don't think there's too many places in this country better to do it.
When you're recruiting, is the weather tough for you when you're on the recruiting trail, telling, explaining, and you probably maybe don't talk about it?
No, honestly, we do. One of our top recruits that we're on right now is from Houston, 6'6", left-handed pitcher. It's the first thing I tell him. You got to be tough to play here, and that's ultimately we start there.
You mentioned something about possibility of artificial
Yeah,
turf.
yeah.
That would be wonderful.
It would be enormous. I think for the student study balance, right? Our guys have to do things differently than other sports on our own campus, let alone in our conference. We don't have to do them, but if we want to win a championship, we're willing to do that, right? We're going to get to the field 30 minutes earlier than practice to pull the tarps off, rake up the field. When we're done with practice, they got to spend another 30 minutes leaving it as it was, so that if there's any precipitation or anything, it's ready for the next day. We run that tarp on and off the field sometimes 2 times a day, and every time they start to get frustrated.
The setting up there is beautiful. You're in the dugout, you look out over the valley. It's impressive. Are you thinking about putting lights
Not sure. We haven't got to that point. I mean, that would be, if we could ever find, a donor that wanted to light it up, man. I think that, again, you talk about getting more kids into baseball in this area. What better place to do it right there? If you could light up baseball and softball, you could, because that softball field could double as a little league field, and I mean, you could really start raising players around here in one of the best settings to do it. But yeah, the weather's a challenge. Even 2.5 hours, west of here is where College of Worcester, where he is. It's different, right? The weather's different. We get the lake effect, the wind, this time of the year. But for me, it's one of the first things I bring up because I think it's important to let them know, like, if you're coming from Houston, it's going to be different.
And you have the academic challenge too. You have to maintain obviously the grades, and Allegheny is noted for their academics. You have to get the student athlete.
Right. And I know that's used against us in the recruiting battle too all the time, and I that's why I own it. Again, I choose to coach here, so I can't complain about that all the time, or else it would, it's my own fault. So we just try to find guys that can look through it, work through it. That's why for us the most important piece of the whole picture of the student that we're recruiting is their toughness, their grit, and their competitive spirit. Because if they have all that, they're going to look at the field and go, looks like a baseball field, right? Whether it's a $3 million facility or a $100,000 facility, those are the people we want.
You have any two-sport athletes? Is there anybody that maybe plays the football and baseball?
We have one coming in. A guy that he was on heavily with the football. He's a receiver and a center fielder.
Okay.
He's a lot of guys want to do it. I think he can. You got to be a pretty special athlete to do it. Hold up your grades, because I think if you're going to do it and be successful, you have to play right away in one or both of the sports, and I think he has the ability.
Because I can remember Coach Matlack. He played football and baseball.
Yep. There's you played with a few, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's definitely doable. I played with one guy. We always picked on him because he was a pitcher and a punter, so you couldn't have drawn it up any better. He had the easiest practices every day. But yeah, it's definitely doable and achievable at this level. It just takes an elite athlete because you got to manage your time, and then when you're on those fields, you got to be really good.
And you have probably a good working relationship with Coach Nagy, Coach Simmons.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Ross.
Great guys. We have a good staff. We do. A lot of guys that are competitive, and you have to be. We have to do things differently here. If we want to be successful at Allegheny in our conference, you have to be creative. You have to have I'd say a high motor where you're just going all the time. You got to recruit, but you got to develop the ones you have. I'd say that's always going to trump anything we do. Is you have to be above average with whatever you have. And we have some guys. Coach Nagy, I love talking with him. He was a two-sport athlete at Trinity. Also has the brother was pretty good, pitching in World Series, a couple World Series appearances with
one of my favorites,
the Indians. Yeah, so hearing his stories and stuff, I keep trying to bribe him to get Charlie to come out. I told him he can live in my basement if he wanted. I think he's set though.
What part of Ohio are you from?
I'm actually from Worcester.
Okay.
Yep, born and raised.
I always say I took the beast straight out of the belly. There's nothing left at Worcester.
You like it over here?
I robbed him.
Yeah, it's actually very similar. Like Meadville and Worcester, very similar sized town, kind of rural areas. And so it was definitely a smooth transition. I spent my whole life in Worcester, essentially, 1 year of grad school in Cleveland, and that was it. And then, getting away from my family, it made it just a smooth transition, being able to come to a place that was very similar. So yeah, I love everything about it. Smaller, town feel. That's kind of what I grew up on, so it's very comfortable.
Brandon, if you run into any problems, who do you go for advice about coaching?
I'd say you asked about mentors. Away from my grandfather, one of the I'd say there's two. One's no longer here, Coach Weber, the former soccer coach, but Jeff Groff, the golf coach. He's done a little bit of everything. Coached almost every sport at Allegheny. Coached baseball first. He's one of the he's a gentleman. He's seen it all. But I think how he approaches business every day is something that inspires me. I've seen him do things that I'm like, on the recruiting end, that I'm like, that's not out of date. It's something that guys his age definitely do, but I'm like, that's stuff that we can still apply to how we do things. But I go to him often. He's a good one. He's a good one.
Is there a way you're trying to get maybe the community to get more involved and get fans at the games?
Yeah. I think the last few years prior to COVID, right, we were doing a really good job trending the right way. Just myself being local, trying to grow baseball. We were having kids camps every winter, every summer, and I think this summer, not this past summer, we had 60 some kids at our kids camp. Our price is really low. I want volume. I want kids on that field, and then what happens? We'll see them in the spring standing on the fence with a ball, walking up to one of our players, and they all loved our big left-handed pitcher last year, Sean Keeley. They all call him Tree because he's about as tall as one. That was special.
My kids attended Seton School, and back in the day, Mrs. Crum was their teacher.
Okay.
And she would take the kids had to learn how to keep score in a scorebook for their math class. She had a relationship with the coach up there, and the kids would go out and watch the games. And my kids, all 4 of my kids know how to keep a book.
That's phenomenal.
And that's how she taught her math. Baseball is a numbers game.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would love to know how many guys on my team know how to accurately use a pen and pencil book.
I can hand to my daughter keep the book. Okay, Dad, keep the book. And she used that and it built a relationship with the community. So that might be something you may talk to the people down at Seton.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I mean we've tried to do some other things too. I know last year we took the team to for Dr. Schuch week last week, right? We took last year we went and I think I did like 12 guys. We went into Secretariat Elementary, full uniform.
The kids probably loved it.
They ate it up. My son was in kindergarten at that time, and I stayed away from that classroom on purpose, but he made the player in there go get me, and that was neat. I think for me to give back, I know that when I was in school and seeing like the high schoolers come down and read to us meant the world, especially if they were an athlete and the guy that I went to watch Secretariat Panther basketball. I think that goes a long way, and I think one of the questions guys got in almost every single classroom is, what's college like? And that's awesome. That's the platform. Okay, the purpose of what they're here for is college, right? They're improving their lifestyle by investing in their education, and that's exactly what the question is. Like we paid them to ask, right? Or the teachers paid them to ask. That's what we want these the community children to see, is these kids are from all over the country, but they're here for an education.
Yeah,
so
I noticed that in your roster.
investment.
You had California, a kid from Maine.
Yeah, Maine. We have the state of Washington.
Okay.
We have a kid coming in, a kid from Florida, Virginia next year, New York City, Detroit, another kid from Maine. The school recruits nationally, attracts nationally with its academics. I think this year more than ever we've had a lot more success nationally because depending on the state and how they've dealt with COVID, they want out, they want to leave, or they're willing to try some things new. I think parents now too are smarter. Most of them have been through school or know someone that has, so they are willing to look around and move their kids around. And again, I think our number one goal for any recruit is to get them on campus and get them in front of us.
And then you can sell.
I feel like we can do a really good job just showing them who we are.
Do you ever run in like Allegheny's reputation, academic standards, and the price? I mean, kids not too many people pay the full price for the check. I mean,
that'd be really, really difficult. And we run into that every time, all the time. Not so much the academics. I mean, most of the kids we're recruiting we know can survive and do well, and that's one of the reasons they're here. But the price tag's always a challenge. But one of the first things I talk about is like I tell them college isn't for everyone. Usually the parents are kind of like behind the kid going, "What are you saying? What are you talking about?" It's not. And it shouldn't be. It's for those that want to make the investment into bettering their life and challenging themselves further. So, my father-in-law, who's in the trades, tool and die, like I hear him talk about the opposing views of college. He's right? It's not for everyone. So I think the unique thing at Allegheny is the guys that come here and have played for me, or us, and move on and graduate, their applications and resumes are going in separate piles. There's not a guy that hasn't graduated since I've been here in the last 3 years that hasn't walked out of here with a concrete plan or a job, or they got into medical school, Pitt graduate school. Yeah, so I mean that's I'd say the thing that we are involved in the most, and I want to be. The baseball stuff's the easiest stuff we do. We wouldn't be here if they didn't think we were qualified to coach baseball at a high level. It's how can we make this whole package worth the investment? Because that's what it is. It's a giant investment, and that's how we sell it. I mean, because that's what it has to be seen as. It's not a payment.
If I had a young man who was interested in playing baseball, I'd love to have him talk to him. Man, I'm very impressed with everything you're saying, what you're doing.
Can he pitch? Can he hit?
They're too little. I got grandkids now.
How many you got now?
5. 3 boys and 2 girls. So
So interesting. So back to the community. So I started coaching 2 years ago. My son's just turned 7. He started playing in t-ball in like 4. I didn't want him anywhere near it, but my wife did. He loves it. He's a pretty decent little player, but he loves being a part of teams. And now, last year with COVID, I wasn't going to coach the 8U travel team, and I kind of got, with our season, how it was, and we couldn't go too many places to recruit during the summer. I found myself in there more times than not. And one of the things now I'm in.
I bet he knows how to bunt.
He knows how to do a lot. Well, he refuses to bunt because he says he hits dingers and doubles. That's all he says. So he's real good.
Dingers.
He's real good with a wiffle ball bat. You know, the aluminum bat's a little heavy, but we're working at it. But one of the things for me, we talked about this earlier, is why I don't do it because I think I know more than others in the baseball realm. I'd like to think that's probably the case, but it's more about having fun. That's what I see sucked out of these 8 to 10-year-old kids. It's so much about the medal and the picture at the end for mom to put on Facebook, and less about when they leave the dugout, they got a big smile on their face and they're running to the playground.
Yes.
Because that's exactly how I came up. I never played on a travel team in 8U, 10U, dabbled in Little
To me,
League,
it's
12-year-old.
I really think whether it's basketball, AU, baseball, to me, it's a moneymaker.
It-
That's just my personal.
It very
opinion.
well can be. No, there's something to be said. There's definitely good organizations. He coaches in one in the summertime. That's great for development. They require them to train and practice. But for our age group, if you want them to play as 12-year-olds and 15-year-olds, you've got to build in so much enjoyment, because as they get older and the ball comes in faster and everybody's bigger, there's a lot of failure involved, right? You get out a lot and you don't control a lot. There's not a whole lot you control in baseball. The pitcher has the ball and you're on offense.
You fail.
Yeah, so you've got to make them.
7 out of 10 times you fail.
The only way for them to handle that kind of failure and not quit and go to another sport is to thoroughly enjoy being a part of that team. And I think that starts at this age, and they keep coming back. And that's what when they leave, they ask us at the end of the game, Coach, did we win? And I'm like, I don't know. And the lady that Coach Karen in the dugout says, yeah, we won. We did. And they go nuts. And I'm like, guys, we made every ground ball play. Nobody struck out. We hit the ball in play, which they should. It's coach pitch. It's, I think, highlighting those key things that help them understand, like, why am I doing what I'm doing?
How many kids do you have in that your son's play?
Last year, because of COVID, a lot of kids didn't play rec league, so I kept all of them. I kept 16 kids on an 8U travel team, and that was, I had 4 really involved coaches with me, and it took all of us. But I wasn't going to take I know my kid at the end of that quarantine was like about to hang himself from the rafters to get out of the house. So every kid that wanted to play, we took them.
That's good, because I know Meadville's struggling for finding kids to play baseball.
And that's exactly what would have happened if we didn't take a lot of these kids, because any year you give up something, it's easier to stay away from. And I think we've done a really good job of growing it. And so obviously, Secrettown baseball's success over the years recruits itself. But I think for any good program, it has to start in the youth, and it has to be about the kids having a good time playing it. You can want to coach to win, you can want to develop them, but the top of the pyramid has to be seeing smiling faces, because I know, and he knows, and you guys know, you've been around it, this game will put a lot of frowns on your faces in time. You don't need to do it at an 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old level, because the game sneaks up on you and beats you up, man. I was a 270 hitter in college. I was pretty darn successful in the PSAC. 27%. That's not a whole lot of success, right?
And you still
in our game there is.
And you're still playing baseball, correct?
Retired.
Oh, you're done with the Glenwood League?
Yeah. I retired. A couple of us retired from the team 2 summers ago. I'm thankful I did, because last year with COVID, I think they only played 7 games. But I always said once Griffin got to the age of wanting to play baseball in the summertime, or really it's. My wife's she's a saint. She traveled up there for 12 years, watching me play summer baseball as an adult. Most of it is so we could sit around after the game.
One of the oldest recreational leagues in the country, correct?
Semi-professional baseball league in the country. It's over think it's over 100 years now.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, it's it was time to hang them up and just focus on golf and Griffin's baseball team.
Good.
What do you see? I mean, if you had a different job offer somewhere, or do you want to stay at Allegheny? Would you see yourself moving on later in your career?
I think everybody, who doesn't want to coach at Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah.
Or Notre Dame?
Yeah, or LSU. Nah, it's colder there. It's colder there. I'd probably relate better.
What about
when
Clemson?
cold. Clemson's facilities are pretty impressive. I don't know that. I get asked that question often, and the answer is I don't want to go anywhere until I know that I can, until I prove that I can win at the highest level here. I want to take a team to the conference or national championships, and because I know we can do it here, and I think a lot of people look and see all these challenges, and people get frustrated with where the college is athletically. Especially we're in Crawford County. I think we can be a really, really big shining spot, and I want to be a part of that.
And you know the game.
Yeah,
You
yep.
know the game.
And he's Coach Schuch played for Coach Petterini, who coached for 34, 35 years. I've always admired that longevity at one school, one sport, and I think that's when you do that, it kind of becomes easier because you create the culture on the front end, and it becomes
A lot of times people will come to you then.
perpetual success. It feeds itself. You have success. Eventually, he's going to have children, right? And want to send them back to that program or that coach that helped me do what I did. And I think that says a lot. But we're pretty happy here. We like all seasons. I like to golf. I like to hunt. I can do all those things here. So
It's going to be 60 tomorrow, Wednesday.
I know.
So that's where I'm
But I haven't
They'll be
coached
out
a
on the
baseball.
field,
I haven't
man.
coached a baseball game in 350 some days. So we're
getting antsy, huh?
yeah.
Were you
we're
guys out on the
itching.
field already?
We're
You were
itching.
saying you had live pitching yesterday. Were you on the field or did you do it in a
We've been inside.
inside?
Go ahead. You can.
Yeah, we've been inside lately. Today we're actually going to go out, take some BP up on the field, then come back inside, kind of keep the pitchers
When
on.
you say inside, do you have your own facility? Or do you?
Yeah, and the Y Center, the
Okay.
indoor courts. We have
Okay.
four courts long. We have 2 drop-down cages.
Okay.
Nice.
To me, it's more efficient, right? We can get multiple guys throwing in cages. We have more at bats right there. We can't do that outside at our facility. So eventually we'll be out there, but because of the timeline when our students got back, and now with the COVID parameters that we juggle, I mean it's like 10 people per court. So we're cycling in and out, doing a lot of different things. Guys are showing up at different times throughout the days. So there's certainly a lot of flexibility on our end, but an extra responsibility on their end to get, there's never enough time in a normal year to get everyone the reps that they probably need, right? So that's why they have to come hit on their own. They have to go do these things. You'll see our guys 24 degrees, they're out long tossing on the football field on their own because they want to improve.
Yeah.
And we have to have that. That goes back to the core of what we do is recruit the Rocky, not the Russian, right? That's exactly what we want.
So your first game is the 23rd. I didn't get to look at the
Barron,
schedule.
you're
Yeah.
playing Barron.
We're at Penn State Barron. Yep.
When's your first home game?
The following Wednesday.
So if anybody wants to come to the game, how's the restrictions for COVID? How many?
You have to follow your PA state guidelines for all updated information.
15%.
That's
15%. So how many can?
I don't know that quite yet. I don't believe we've addressed it since Governor Wolf's updated those. I don't
I'd
think we've
imagine.
addressed it.
You sit
As
on
of
the
now,
side
they-
if you on the
there's-
side of the hill, you can put as many people as you want.
Exactly. As of now, there are no spectators, but I don't know
Okay.
if that'll change or not. We'll
Hopefully
see.
it would.
Yeah, I hope so. I know for it would go a long way for these senior parents that just want to be able to watch their children play likely their last season of baseball,
Yep.
competitive baseball. So
It does stink, especially when you're seniors. My son went through it last year with lacrosse,
No.
and it was horrible.
Yeah, it's
getting
not
to
easy.
watch, but
Your schedule was cut down too. You're not playing as many games.
Yeah.
how many
I
games
noticed
do they
that.
have, John? Did you see on there?
I think it's
Brandon maybe
26.
Well, that's okay.
So what do you normally have if it was
40. We have a
Wow.
40 game schedule every year.
And you didn't go south this year.
No, and that's usually the biggest chunk missing is usually we go on 2 early trips. We go to Beckley, West Virginia, the 3rd week in
The
February.
seniors are going to miss out on that.
Yeah, yeah. We go there to play a 3-game series, and then usually go out to Tucson, Arizona for spring training. And we're not doing that obviously because
That's a nice recruiting tool.
It is, right? It is a breakup. I think, the weather is what it is, so we can't sit around and wait.
Right.
Not if you want to be a championship
Right.
caliber program. If you're not playing 37 to 40 games a year, you're not a serious program. Because you're gonna need every single one of those games to be counted towards your strength of schedule to get an at-large bid if you don't win your conference championship. So to play 37, 40 games, we have to make these early trips. So we hustle, we fundraise, we make it work because we're going to go to baseball. We're not going to wait for the baseball weather to come to us. That's what I think a championship caliber program has to do.
Young and aggressive. That's good.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. Hopefully you guys have a successful year. You have anything else, John?
I'm impressed. I've known Brandon for a while, and
You guys
I know
oughta,
he does a nice job.
I would like to come up there and watch, and if
If
anybody else
some
would like-
restrictions are lifted, yeah, you definitely got to come out. And
We like to do a
I think
game.
the product's strong. I think the product is strong, and
Good, yeah.
I think
I
you'll be
just don't-
impressed with some young ones we have.
If I ask Daryl, he'll just never get back to you. You're gonna be on that boat.
Tell him he can talk. He'll in front of that microphone all day.
He'll go up and call the game with you.
Yeah.
He probably would. Well,
I
John-
think you got a fine assistant here. I'm
I
impressed.
think he's one of the best in the country. I do. He's a hard worker. He's after it, and he's working hard on our incoming class, and I know he's working hard on our
Yeah.
junior class because we got a pretty good jump on it. But the one thing, loyalty, trust is so important in that relationship, and I think that
You could tell he knows a lot because when we
Yeah.
went back for lunch with
Yeah.
Daryl, Mike, and that, and we went out there. You guys were talking, and I was impressed. So
he knows what it looks
it's a
like.
good
I mean, he's
hire,
had a
yeah.
lot of success.
And
as a
Daryl's
player.
really, on his side too.
Oh yeah.
But so if anybody wants to go to a game or if it's uplifted, just go to the web.
The way, the AlleghenyGators.com. I know there's a COVID tab there, which with updated policies. So
It would be nice if the community backs you. I mean, local
yeah,
guy.
yeah, they do, and I think we feel the support.
That's good.
More is always better, though.
You're right. That's it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I appreciate it.
your
Thanks for
time.
coming. I'm Ed Marin, and for John Matillo, thank you for watching Sports Close Up.